Dever Design is a graphic design firm focused solely on illuminating their client's brand. Today, on Next Generation Leaders, we're going to speak with Jeff Dever. Jeff is the founder and president of Dever Designs, and we're going to ask Jeff about his unique ability to balance leadership and the creative. Well, Jeff, welcome.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thanks for coming in. Appreciate your time to talk about leadership and a little bit about what your firm does. So give us a little background on what the firm or the agency does and the background and how you got started in all this stuff.
Certainly. Dever Designs is a graphic design studio, full-service graphic design studio that is primarily focused on serving trade associations, nonprofits, and commercial clients also in the area of brand building, marketing communications. And that takes a variety of print and increasingly digital forms across multiple channels.
How'd you get started in this business? What's sort of your personal background and how did you get into this?
Well, I always knew I wanted to work in this field.
Okay.
And my business partner was my wife, Kay Rosberg. It's a family-owned business. She helped me identify that I was going to work hard my whole life and I might as well start doing it for myself.
Absolutely.
And so with her gifts as a business thinking person and my skill set as a creative director and art director, we then started our own business 30 years ago.
Wow.
And we serve primarily the Mid-Atlantic region with a focus on the Baltimore, Washington metropolitan communities.
Okay. In the vertical markets, you mentioned nonprofits or associations, or tell me a little bit more about that.
We are skewed towards nonprofits, and it's very interesting in that Baltimore, Washington corridor. Baltimore, if you use broad-based stereotypes, Baltimore is a more commercial town. Washington is very much an institutional and nonprofit town. And as a result, our clientele are not exactly the same in those two markets. But we do work with a range and can repackage our skills in ways that are appropriate to those different clienteles.
I always like to talk to creative people on the concept of leadership because they generally come at it from a little different angle. So I'm going to ask you about, so how do you view leadership? And it sounds like that maybe when you're putting this thing together a few years ago, that you added a key component right off the bat, which maybe had a different view of the business. So how do you view leadership?
Our model for management is fairly flat.
Okay.
My wife and I are business partners, and we have different key responsibilities within that. But right below us are our senior designer project managers. And we have a pretty transparent organization, both in terms of our books and in terms of our management style. We surround ourselves with people who are not going to march in lockstep with either Kay's personality or mine, but people that will complement yet challenge us and provoke us to thinking about new ways. And I think that also helps us match up the right personalities with the right type of clientele.
So Jeff, you've been in business for 30 years. I would imagine you don't go to market the same way you did 30 years ago. Can you share a little bit about how you've changed and innovated and kind of morphed the company over that 30 years to still meet client expectations?
Well, initially, 30 years ago, the business was me, period. As you start to bring on staff with varying talents and things like that, the model changes of how you work. And I think one of the things that we know today is that, again, recognizing what my strengths are and what my potential weaker areas are, it's very important to know when I'm contributing to the process and when I'm inhibiting the process. And a good example of that is recently we got around to redoing our website. And it was stalled, and primarily because I was in the way. I was a bottleneck. And at this point in the development of our business and my career, I have to recognize that and say, hey, I've got talent and skills and people around me who can do this and who are doing 90% of the work already, but I need to step back and get out of their way, not remove myself from the process. They still vet things through me and check against what my interpretation and vision of the company is. But certainly I need to not inhibit their innovating, their creating, they're getting the job done. Just like I have to do for other clients, I have to do that for ourselves too. And increasingly, particularly as we look towards the legacy of the business, I have to recognize that the business cannot be built solely around me. And it's not. The business is not me. It's all the people. Our biggest asset are all those other individuals that work with me every day.
How do you define the culture at the company now? Is it attractive as you bring in people? Does it play a role in attracting and retaining people? And does it have any relationship with what the client sees?
I think yes on both of those cases. One of the things is when we bring people on, when we add to our team, we do it very carefully. People often go through a 2-stage interview process. I mean, it can take up to 4 or 5 hours. And one of the stages, the second stage, if they get to that level, is we take them into the conference room, we let them speak with our employees, and my partner and I step out of the room.
Okay.
We want candid conversations to see if there's chemistry and if there's a team there. When we get those people, we have people who work well together, who are not territorial, people who have each other's best interest at heart. Those aren't easy people to find. And those people, we have an unusually high retention rate for our employees. So I think that speaks something to the corporate culture there.
Sure.
If people feel they make a difference, if people feel valued, they will stay. That also then translates into clients really like not being handed off every 15 minutes. And so building a longer-term relationship with one of our project managers, I think is, supports those long-term relationships, and they very much value that. But we also then build in redundancy, and it's transparent to the client.
You mentioned earlier about maybe a stage where the company is now and looking forward to growth. Perhaps it's a year of growth that's ahead of you. Can you talk a little bit about what role these team leaders, project leaders, client managers play in the growth of the company?
Well, we're definitely evolving in terms of what our strategy is for growth. The type of growth we're after, too, is not exponential growth. There's a couple ways to make profits, and one is if you sell commodities, you sell more commodities, and exponential growth is a great way to go, because you can build up to meet that need. In a service industry like our particular niche, we can't try to grow our business to the extent that we won't be able to deliver the continuity of service that our clients have come to expect, particularly if we're trying to develop long-term relationships. So our growth comes in from expanding the services offered to those existing clients, identifying new clients for whom it's a fit, a win-win. We don't try to go in and sell siding to people who were trying to buy windows. I think we try to be candid and honest with people. Integrity is one of, I think, the main things that our clients value in us. And our frontline people are the reflection of that each and every day. And one of the ways they get to be the reflection of that is that we not only give them responsibility, but responsibility without a degree of authority to make sure you can meet that responsibility is a real pitfall. So they have to have a degree of autonomy that allows them to not have to call my partner or I and validate every decision they make. And it's always a balancing act to not be totally removed from the process, and your clients feel secure when you're not, but also to allow them to take the lead on projects, innovate within how they respond to people, the types of solutions they come up with for their brand needs, and just be creative without feeling like there's a parent in the background looking over their shoulder.
Great. Well, Jeff, I wanted to thank you. This has been a great conversation to talk about your company and sort of your background and the things that you've done to meet great customer expectations, to build a strong firm that's lasted for 30 years. It's quite a feat, one that should be recognized. So thanks very much.
Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity.
You bet. Jeff Dever has had to adapt with the changing times. For 30 years, he's led Dever Designs, and he's had to learn to lead staff and lead clients in different ways during those 3 decades. We spoke with Jeff about his ability to change during this period, as well as to appreciate both the left and the right brain thinkers. We hope you gained something from our conversation with Jeff, and we'd like you to continue the conversation on martinoneal.net.